and what kind of kid he is.
He is, and I'm his mom, so it's going to come across as a little partial, but he really is one of the most tender-hearted, kindest little boys ever. The greatest blessing to me. Love all three of my kids, but couldn't ask for a better son. He's my only son. Looks just like his dad. He's known for being kind. He's shy. He's resilient. He's awesome. I love him. I'm so proud of him.
But the and you mentioned his dad. He never really got to know his dad. Tell us about Andy.
Um, well, Andy was killed in Iraq when Miles was just shy of 5 weeks old,
Okay.
and our oldest daughter Marley was 20 months old, so they were very, very young. Miles doesn't have any of his own memories of his dad. Um, Andy was awesome. Most of the time, when there's a death, people choose to they forget that there's anything negative about a person, but with Andy, there just wasn't. I mean, he really was as good as they come, as great as they get. He was funny and handsome, athletic. He was just an all around great guy, a wonderful leader, a great person. And Miles literally looks just like his dad.
Well, and that's, I mean, kids often have some resemblance to their parents. But I remember you may have heard me mention when I'm driving with my daughter. I don't recommend, by the way, driving in the snow in a large SUV, weeping at a story while your daughter's holding the iPad. Not generally a good thing. But my daughter was, when the picture came up, and she's like, oh, he looks just like him, and he does. Is he, obviously there are genetic factors in our lives and environmental factors in our lives, and Miles' dad hasn't been environmentally there. But do you, beyond the physical sense, do you see Andy in Miles?
Oh, all the time. It's
Hmm.
the facial similarities are striking. They set you back, but it's even to where the way that he stands, the way that he wears his clothes, the way that he walks, the way he laughs, his smile's the same, his teeth are set the same. It's almost like looking right in Andy's eye when you're looking at Miles, and it's just he cries the same. It's everything is similar, and I've said a million times that it's so bizarre. It's wonderful, but it's so interesting how somebody who had no time with someone can be just like them. And he really is. They were made from the same cookie cutter, I think.
Hmm. Um, so obviously, and by the time we see the pictures of him at the cemetery, it's just, it's so moving. You've obviously done a good job teaching him about the guy that his dad was.
Mm-hmm. It's been there was no other option for me. If
Right, right.
something had happened to me, I would hope someone would carry my legacy on for my children. It's I've gotten a lot of flack for it over the years, but this is my road, this is my walk, and I've done what I feel is best. And Marley, Miles, and Andy lost the most when Andy died. And it's my job as his wife and their mother to make sure they knew him. It wasn't
Right.
Marley and Miles' fault. It wasn't Andy's fault. They all lost the most, and I've done the best I can to forge a relationship to the best of my ability. They deserve that. They need that.
What I
So
can't,
that's just what I've done.
right, and I can't imagine how hard it was for you, um, um, back 8 years ago. What was this? What was the answer? What was the hope? What was the secret for you getting through those early times?
Well, my kids were so little, I had no other option than to get up every day. There was no other option for me. I couldn't give up. There's been times where there's this movie P.S. I Love You, and I've been envious of the character because I thought, well, I never locked myself in an apartment for weeks and weeks and didn't brush my teeth and didn't get up. But it wasn't an option for me. Marley and Miles needed me to be strong. They needed me to get up, and my resilience and my strength is the way I was hardwired, and it's because of God. So I've been able to do what I can the way that I'm not perfect, but my children have and will sustain me through everything. And Andy loved me so much that we had no unfinished business, so that also helps too. When you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you were cherished. Man, I wish it could have lasted longer, but that's just not what was in the cards for me.
Mhm. Um, so what happens in the parking lot? Take us to how long ago was this? I know the story, Steve Hartman's story, came out on Friday, but when did this happen?
It was September 7th. My youngest had been sick for a couple of weeks, and we just gotten clearance for her to join the ranks of society, if you will. And it was a snow day, so the big kids weren't at school. And my youngest Berkeley said she wanted to go to Cracker Barrel, and I said, okay, let's go to Cracker Barrel. So we got there and we were walking in, and Miles said, Mom, I found $20 in the parking lot. And before I could even say anything, both Marley and Miles said, we're going to give it to our waitress. Even if she's terrible, our waitress, it's her lucky day. She's going to get a big tip. And that made me really proud in that moment because this is something that I've been working for years and years that I didn't have to coach them. They made the choice on their own, and I wouldn't have allowed Miles to keep the money. We would have paid it forward, but they made that choice on their own. So then we were in the restaurant, and as soon as Lieutenant Colonel Daly came in, Miles was totally enamored, just zoned right in on him, and he said, Mom, I want to give it, it's got to go to that soldier. That's who it's got to go to. And we always have post-it notes and pens. I always have them on my person, and we always write people notes. And Miles wanted to write the note this time. It was the first time. Normally he just signs his name, and Marley or myself will write the note, but this was the first time Miles did, and he knew exactly what he wanted to say, and the only thing I helped him with was spelling. He did it all on his own, and he's a lefty, and he's 8, and he has a little bit of a hard time in school sometimes. But I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think Abraham Lincoln on the back of an envelope probably could have come up with something quite that powerful in that short of time. And and Miles is like, it's, we're a pay it forward family, and so this is obviously something that's not like new to them. How did you cultivate that?
Something I've done ever since I was little, and then after Andy died, I think it became more of a coping mechanism. It's sort of the pay it forward kindness thing was in overdrive. It's how I dealt with everything because I feel like you should always be kind, but especially in your hardest moments, the darkest times in life, you should just permeate love. And so it's something that, I mean, the kids have been doing ever since they were little. Interesting fact, Marley had a random act of kindness assignment due last week, and she sat for the longest time, and she couldn't differentiate what is normal and what is a random act of kindness because of the way that we live. I mean, we're constantly, this just happened to get picked up. I mean, we don't ever do stuff for recognition or anything other than we really just like to make people smile. So
Right. Well, you certainly did, and sometimes the right story finds its way to the right story teller, and Steve Hartman was certainly the guy to tell this story. And you think, mate, because I remember, just because I'm a recovering TV news anchor. I used to do that for a long time, and I'm in Pittsburgh right now. And I remembered like reading his bio someplace, and I remember that he was from Toledo, and but I didn't put that together in my mind that maybe he heard it through the grapevine.
that's what I mean, I never actually asked. I just sort of went with the flow. He came and hung out and talked to Miles and got the story. I really tried not to interject so much because it's Miles' story. I want, in moderation, I want Miles to be able to tell his story to the right people. And so I just sort of laid back. I assume he found out because his parents or his family lives in town, but I'm not sure. It's interesting how it got picked up. I have not once contacted anybody because, like I said, it's something we do all the time. And, you know, that's the best part about paying it forward. If the intentions are pure, you know,
Right. Yeah.
it's obvious.
And I guess we all want to think that our motives are pure, and it's certainly you can see it in Miles's eyes. And you guys had just come from church. Do I remember that right?
No, that day, the day the note was written, no, but yesterday when we left church,
Okay.
Miles really has no clue. He knows that CBS is a big deal, and he did watch that a couple of times, but Miles, I don't even know if I really comprehend the gravity of the situation here, but Miles has no clue that he's impacting people the way he is. We've been trying to have a normal couple days. It's been a little difficult. We went to lunch after church yesterday, and Miles was recognized,
Maybe
and
that's what I saw the
um,
reference to.
yeah. Hmm.
Um,
So
what was the lesson in church yesterday?
yesterday we were talking about
I'm putting you on the spot.
um, yeah, they're doing a series about how people's testimonies make an impact on others, and our pastor started off by showing us what how the church came together and how that started, and then next week we'll move into personal stories of people's salvation and how they've made their mark in the world and changed the world. But the interesting part is last week on Wednesdays we've been going through the book of Acts, and it's been very interesting because I feel like it's sort of true to life with what's going on here, and I'm just really excited to see what God's going to do. I feel like God's going to do something really, really mighty with Mighty Miles. It's kind of like David and Goliath, you know, the little guy was the one that God used, and I feel like little Miles is going to, well, he's already changing the world, I
Right.
think. I really do believe that, and I'm so proud.
Yeah, I'm getting a few too many tingles thinking about it myself. I'm glad I asked the question about the lesson at church, because I think that that really is. I mean, the power of testimony and personal story is the thing that really does change everything, and it's the um, people don't remember facts and arguments and figures and statistics. They remember stories, and the stories that are
Right.
true, and that's what we try to do, at the Blaze. And sometimes that's debunking stories that are false, and sometimes it's finding the story that is just perfectly lovely and noble, and telling that. And the that's that little symbol of the Blaze I was talking with Glenn last week about when we came up with that 3.5 years ago, as the kind of the idea of the burning bush. Um, the Was not consumed, and but anything that wasn't true was burned away, and
Right.
so that's kind of sort of our hope day to day. Now we do really serious stories, and we sometimes do silly stories, and then every now and then, we just feel like we're guided to a moment where it's like push publish on that one. I'm glad we did on this one. I'm glad the people that tipped it to us did, because so many great stories go untold. And I'm
Mhm.
grateful that you as a family have that we're not doing this for recognition. This happened back in September. We
No.
weren't out there trying to tell this story. Um, the and you when I first talked to you before the broadcast, you were I sensed a little bit of motherly protection, in the sense that I'm glad people are learning the story, but I'm a little bit nervous about what this means, for my son. I guess in a notoriety sense.
Well, you know, we're normal people. We experienced an extraordinary loss, and that sets us apart. But I've tried to teach my kids from the beginning that they're not entitled to anything or any. I want them to be as normal as possible, and so I'm gonna protect the kids. I think this is great. I think it's amazing. I would be in love with this story if it wasn't my son. Uh, you know, you never know what God's plan is. This is a God thing. This definitely is a God thing. Like I don't and when it's a God thing, you don't have control over it. So, you know, I'm along for the ride, but I'm going to do the best I can to make sure that, you know, we stay humble and we bless others. There's lots of people have been giving Miles $20 and wanting to do these things, and we're still trying to figure everything out. But as of right now, anybody that's given Miles money, we've donated to the Snowball Express, which is a program for kids like him. And you know, we did not do what we did. We don't do what we do on a regular basis for any other reason than to show kindness, you know. And so, yeah, I don't know what the future holds, but I feel like it's big. I feel like God's going to use little Miles, and the neatest part for me is seeing my husband's face everywhere. I promised his name wouldn't die, and I don't think it's going to for a long time. So
No, yeah.
that's been really rewarding.
And if you have other specific questions for Tiffany before we let her get back to real life, because I have a couple more questions. You can't go yet. You can hit the submit question button at the bottom of the screen. You can also jump in the chat. And I'll have to tell you, the folks that regularly watch the BlazeCast this time, we're doing such a level of traffic on this story, the that I had to specifically limit the number of people that can come and watch this BlazeCast, because we started having some. We had a few we've taped the servers together to keep the website going, and the Spreecast people told me that they couldn't handle the level of traffic if I had made this automatically play for everybody. So we had to make it you had to click to play this webcast. And so
Wow.
if and there's hundreds and hundreds of people that are watching it as they come in and out and all of that. And then later we'll attach this to the story, the stories that we've done about Miles. But many millions of people will be able to learn from this. Um, the what and so you can join the chat, by the way, if you're watching, and jump in there or submit the questions. Glad to get to them. And I'm going to bring Oliver, who wrote the story, on in just a couple of minutes. But tell me back, when Miles said, I'm a Gold Star kid. Tell us about the Gold Star kids. Does he know other kids? Do they get together at things? How do they help each other?
Well, we actually, my husband was a reservist. He was deployed twice. We don't have an active duty component around us, so it's really far and few between to find other Gold Star kids around us. And plus, if you look at how many, there's more than there should be in regards to military casualties from this conflict. But really, in the grand scheme of things, it's a minority. So we actually once a year take part in an event that's held by the Snowball Express, and they fly all these kids in who are Gold Star kids. Gold Star means that you have lost a
Right.
service member, and they fly in, the surviving spouses with the children. It's specifically for the children, and I think last year, oh man, there was a couple thousand of us. It's grown every year. We've only gone for the last three, and it's the neatest thing ever to see these kids around each other, and it's super special. So I'm excited that we're able to pay it forward and give back to them because of what's happening with Miles right now.
And I have an 8-year-old daughter, and so I'm pretty aware of what kids are like when they're 8. And I can there's an enthusiasm at that age that is so wonderful. Now you mentioned he has an older sibling, and I can't remember, is it a boy or a girl?
Marley Freedom, she's a girl.
Marley Free. And how's Marley viewing all of this?
Marley, again, the kids are really in the dark. We actually had last week we had we had some stuff going on with Marley because of a father-daughter dance. There was some stuff going on. It's all
Mm-hmm.
over the internet as well. And we orchestrated a red carpet welcome for Marley and all the other little girls from her school.
Aw.
So it's been a really busy couple weeks. I mean, like I said, when God's doing a God thing, you just sort of have to like you're along for the ride. I don't understand his timing, but yeah, they're both doing great. They're both amazing kids, and they really they don't know the gravity of the situation yet. So
Right. Gravity in a good way. Now, did they tell
yeah, yeah, yeah.
did the folks at CBS tell you, okay, Friday night's the night, and here's when it's going to be on?
Yeah, yeah, we knew. We there was a there's a page on Facebook that was created by some people back when everything started with Marley a couple weeks ago, and so it was out a little bit, but we for the most part kept it to ourselves.
Right.
We just we're not silly like that.
So what'd you do on Friday night? Does everybody kind of sit down on the couch and
Well, we had some. Miles had a few of his friends over, and they were running around playing. And then when the show came on, they came down and they all sat on the couch together with apples and watched it. And then they went back on their way, And of course, the moms that were there. There was only a couple, but the moms were teary eyed, and I just was. It was such a beautiful piece. They did such an amazing job, and they're just really cool people. Because I had to let them in my home and everything, and I was super comfortable. They're great. They're great at what they do. I was very impressed. So yeah, but it was just a normal night. Went back to business, just playing. Miles had a sleepover. Normal stuff.
right, right.
So
And the Steve Hartman does such a good. Went back when I was on television. I probably wished that I could have been that good a storyteller. In fact, I started at CBS right out of college, and worked in New York and the New York bureau, and got to know a little bit um, Charles Kuralt, the sort of the forebearer of the on the road segments, and it's certainly in very good hands. What do we know about how Lieutenant Colonel Daly? He made a reference to paying it forward himself. Do we know how he's done that, or is he keeping that quiet?
I'm not sure. We're actually in regular communication, and there's this connection God thing. Again, I just can't say it enough. It's a God thing.
Right.
He came out in his dress blues for Marley's red carpet for her father daughter dance, and we are definitely going to be connected for life. And he's super cool, and his wife's really nice, and his daughter. Like, I'm super excited about this because I love people and I love good people, and they're good people. So I'm not sure what he did, but I know that it has changed him forever. You can see it in his when you can just see it in his face. You can see in his eyes that Miles genuinely did something profound, did a work in him. And I don't know how to explain it.
Right. Yeah. The I mean, I would think in a way, we get even when we like to think of ourselves as good people, we are pressed by time and circumstances and all of that to do the things that are probably more selfish than we would like to admit. And there sometimes comes those moments where God maybe says, "I'm going to use this little 8-year-old kid to smack you in the face." With exactly what it means to be a good neighbor, to love your neighbor as yourself. And
Right.
I think that then whatever it was that let you walk into that Cracker Barrel, that let that $20 wherever that came from, that had you take that
Mm-hmm.
picture out of the car window, all of that came together in a little. That's not even a parable because it's true.
Right.
Um, so
Funny you made the comment about this being selfish. When Steve was interviewing Miles, he didn't use it in the piece, obviously, but he asked Miles, he goes, "Well, but why wouldn't you keep it?" And Miles sat there for a second. He goes, "Well, because that would have been selfish." So it's from the mouths to babes, and I just sat there and thought, "This is my kid. I'm so super proud of you."
have you
So
been back to Cracker Barrel?
yes, we actually went on Saturday, and we wanted to go and see the manager there because he had passed a message along to us through CBS, and we just felt really compelled to see him. And he wasn't there, but he'll be there Friday night, I believe. So I think we're gonna go see him. Miles, of course, has been asking every day, "I want to go to Cracker Barrel. I want to go to Cracker Barrel," but I said, "Well, we can't go every day, but we'll go when he's there, when Dean's there." So we'll be back this week.
Um, I will let you get back to regular life. Anything else that you've learned out of this in the last 72 hours?
Well, viral's no joke. I mean, it's. I guess I don't know. I guess I would just challenge people. What we do is so easy, second nature. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, every single day. But love is the greatest gift that we've been given, and it's the easiest thing to share with others. But it's so misunderstood that people make it more complicated than it needs to be. So I would challenge people to step outside of your box. You have no clue, even just holding a door for someone, genuinely saying hello to someone, maybe not being so annoyed with somebody in the workplace. And, don't be fake, be real. But if you just little things here and there, baby steps, change change patterns, just try to spread kindness, it'll make a big difference. So I would just challenge people anytime you feel like maybe you've hit a roadblock, or you don't know whether you should do something nice, think of Miles. Think of that little guy, whether it's him hugging the headstone or something that he said in the clip. Think of Miles and let Mighty Miles challenge you to love people around you, because it's really not that hard. It's not, and we can do it.
Well, I can't think of a thing that would tie better to what we've been talking about at the Blaze for a couple of months. And, we run a news organization, and has, a lot of times you get into the news of the day and all of this and all of that. And at Christmas time, we had a staff gathering, and Glenn said, when you think about all the things that we do on television, radio, and events and all of this, he said, in the end, we tell stories of love and courage where the good guys win. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's hard to kind of make that work out exactly like we would want to do it in telling the news stories of the day. But give our thanks to Miles. I'd like to maybe talk to him sometime on one of these webcasts. Maybe we'll let the attention die down a little bit. But
Right.
if we're trying to tell stories of love and courage where the good guys win, uh, thank Miles, because I think we might be able just to stop for the year. We could just shut down the Blaze now, and we'll have done a good job. So I appreciate you joining us today.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for sharing my whole story and being a part of whatever it is God's trying to do. And kindness always wins. So best of luck, and we'll be in touch.
All right, Tiffany, thank you very much. I appreciate it joining us. You're watching the BlazeCast on theblaze.com. I'm Scott Baker, editor in chief, and we've got